Let's talk about swimming pools. When you think about a swimming pool, yeah, it can be a great place to pass the time, get in some exercise. But for those who are autistic or have sensory issues to loud noises and bright lights, community pools, they are not always the most welcoming. But there's a push to change that in Surrey for city-operated pools. We have Mark Smeets with us now to talk more about that. Mark is a board member with the ADHD Advocacy Society of BC. He's also a swim coach and support worker with the Canucks Autism Network. Mark, nice to have you here with us today. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Gloria. Appreciate the opportunity and great to speak to you.
So what exactly are you proposing for the city of Surrey to make these pools more accessible?
It's going to sound a little silly, but honestly, it's not just turning off the music. It's not just, or reducing the volume drastically. In my case, I want the music off, but really it's about eliminating or severely reducing a lot of the common barriers that you experience at the pool. It's easy enough to pick on music and it's easy enough to pick on the lighting, but those are two big triggers. And when my son was born 9 years ago, we didn't have a clue about ADHD or autism, nothing. So we learned this all the hard way.
Okay, and what's the experience like for your son at the pool?
When he was younger, Owen is a water baby, and actually, I think that might even be the wrong term. He loves the water in general, and he may as well be a fish like me. When we would try to leave the pool, it would be nothing but epic meltdowns because you have all the loud distractions that are going on from all the water features. You have the bright lights. You have, all the distractions that are around you, and you have two parents who really just don't know what autism is all about, or ADHD for that matter, and have no handle on emotional regulation. So as we're trying to leave the pool, of course, our son is going to communicate to us that he's not ready to go, and he's going to scream his ever-loving head off. And I'm sure every parent can imagine that, but the guilt and shame that we feel when that happens, and you're already feeling not feeling confident as a parent when those things take place, and it does it in such a public setting, you're going, okay, I just want to hide. But things could have been easier if all these sensory things had been reduced. And that's really the genesis of where this started.
Now, the City of Surrey's website has a note on it that they do have sensory-friendly space at the Grandview Heights Aquatic Center. Why isn't that enough in your view?
Well, think of it like this. I live in Fleetwood, and Grandview Heights, it's a bit of a ways away. If any of the listeners out there have a child with, whether it's ADHD, Down syndrome, or what have you, when you're going on that extra long car trip to go out of your community into this pool, that's not fair. And quite honestly, these are just such low barrier approaches that can be accomplished of, when you walk into the foyer of a pool, let's, turn off half the lights in the entrance. And as you're walking down towards the change room, turn off half those lights as well. It really is that simple. Those little things make a massive difference. But to ask a family to take their child that already is nervous or scared on an extra long car ride, again, that's a pool that isn't down the road from them or maybe 1 or 2 kilometers away, that's not fair. That's not right. The other issue that I take as well is that and personally I've seen the pictures of Grandview. I haven't been there in a while, so I haven't seen what this sensory room is like. As far as I can tell from what I've read, the sensory room's away from the pool. But if your child is already in the pool and you're trying to leave and you're having and you're having the challenges, and maybe that's when the aggression kicks in or something to that extent, then what's going to end up happening is how are you going to get from that pool all the way to the sensory room? You're not. And one point that I've made a lot to people is, I don't need a room full of fancy stuff to work with calming down a child. what I need is I just need a quiet space. I've done this as much as with 2 kickboards beside our heads, like just so you don't see. Because if you think about it, if you're screaming and you're really upset, do you want everybody looking at you? No. So I don't know how to get up to the room, and I don't want to knock the room. I'm sure it's a beautiful room, and I'd love to get up there one day, but really we're talking about the simple low barrier things that make the difference.
Okay, and you're going to be speaking on this in front of Surrey Council tonight.
Yes.
What's your hope for the future? My
hope for the future is that I've gotten quite a bit of support from our MLAs, our MP, two of our MLAs for that matter, and also the Business Improvement Association as well, and hoping to run a pilot project at Fleetwood at Surrey Sport and Leisure, and basically run that for 6 months, follow all these ideas that we have, and these ideas came from the lived experience of people that I've been talking to in the Facebook groups that I'm with, not to mention what I've experienced as a dad. So my hope is that we can start with this pilot project because Fleetwood's getting, essentially rebooted with the arrival of SkyTrain, and go from there and start to bring these things into other facilities and not just the pools. But it's got to start somewhere, and it's not a high bar to cross. It just isn't.
No, not the way you've laid it out for us now. Mark, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Gloria. I appreciate it.
That's Mark Smeets, resident of Surrey.
Thanks, Mark. Have a great day.
You too. Thank you so much.
Advocacy Society of BC. He's a swim coach and support